I truly appreciated this episode more than I ever expected. The fight between the Kenpachi was done spectacularly well. So let's get this comparison video going, and just so you know, since we will be covering the latest episode of Bleach and its manga counterpart, spoilers ahead. Bleach episode 10 used 6 chapters to cover its runtime. This would be chapters 522, 523, and then 525 to 528. However, the anime would only cover 1 page from chapter 528. In all, that would roughly be about 87 pages with 395 panels. So let's see what's been adapted or what's been brutally murdered. Our episode starts out with us leaping right back into the action with Unohana versus Kenpachi. This also lines up with chapter 525 titled Edges. Kenpachi in his mind is going over the fight, realizing that he keeps losing consciousness, but at the same time, he's having flashbacks to the first time he crossed blades with her. This is where we would get our first deviation. In the anime, we get a shot of Kenpachi, but in the manga, we only get a panel showing us some trees with some dialogue over it. But in the next panel is when we would see the same shot as the anime. This is where the episode titled The Battle would begin. One thing that I really loved that the anime did was to have the title like blood washing from Unohana's blade. The anime and manga would follow the same path, with Unohana trying to find a worthy opponent and finding the child Kenpachi, only to be impaled through the chest. This is where she realized that she inadvertently caused him to be holding back his power, and this fight is to restore him back to his previous self, where he would stop holding back consciously or unconsciously. We head back into the mix with Kenpachi realizing that every time he comes back he gets stronger, and he finally lands a blow on Unohana. I really love how much the anime extends this fight right here. It looks so amazing, and don't worry, this trend will continue throughout this fight. We now get some exposition. It was Unohana killing Kenpachi over and over, hence why he keeps blacking out. Since she's a master at Kido, she can heal him from the brink of death. She does this to try and bring him back to what he was, and it seems to be working. This is where a few panels from the chapter are missing, but those are inconsequential. He manages to get several hits until he lands a major blow on her. This is where chapter 525 would end. Chapter 526 would begin with Unohana countering his last great slash with one across his face. This chapter is titled the same as the episode, The Battle, and it's a damn good one, I must say. This is where the battle would heat up. Unohana then heals her wounds and unleashes her Bankai, Minazuki. And if you were confused about her Bankai, I'll give you a quick breakdown. It oozes red liquid that covers the field. She is able to use this liquid for offensive and defensive moves. Along with that, her blade shortens as well. On top of that, she's now able to heal her wounds instantaneously, that is, if it's not a killing blow. The anime and manga would pretty much follow the same path right up to where Kenpachi and Unohana crosses blades for the first time in her Bankai state. This is where the anime would take point and give us an extended fight scene, showing us the full extent of Unohana's Bankai. Can we just take a moment to appreciate this show? The stage is set, the atmosphere is simply perfect, and we can all collectively say now that the anime has more than outdone the manga at this point. The fight would continue with Kenpachi saying that he is melting away. This is where the manga catches up with the anime. Now, I'm not quite sure why this effect was used to show their skeletons, but if you know, let me know in the comments below. But anyways, the anime and manga would pretty much follow the same path, with Unohana and Kenpachi exchanging words as they fight. Finally, Unohana says thank you to Kenpachi, and then she is impaled. This would be the end of chapter 526. Chapter 527 would begin when Unohana falls and Kenpachi catches her. This chapter is titled Eliminate from Heaven. Unohana lets Kenpachi know that he has greater opponents to fight and he shouldn't cry over her. She now officially passes the baton. At this time, Kenpachi's Zanpakuto finally awakens and starts to speak with him. Within this entire exchange, I only saw one panel that was missing, which is okay, I guess. The one thing to make note here is that Kenpachi's Zanpakuto's voice is female. This will come in handy in the future. Also, this would be the midpoint of the anime, and where the anime would also pull a fast one on us. Instead of continuing to chapter 527, we go back a few chapters to 522. In Bleach episode 9, they skipped out this chapter, and I told you that they would come right back to it in this episode. This chapter is titled Love It. We skip the first page and then head right into when Ichigo and Renji land. However, 2 panels here weren't adapted of Kon arguing about them using him as a landing pad. Does anyone else notice that they keep skipping out all our Kon scenes? Where can I send a strongly worded letter? This is unjust. At any rate, the overly loud, over-the-top Oetsu now lights up the stage, and I must say this gave me a really large chuckle, as this is what I imagine Kubo thinks black people who love rap and hip-hop introduces themselves sound like, which I can't tell if I should be worried or flattered. His personality is something I can see Ichigo punching him in the nose a lot for. At any rate, the anime and manga pretty much follow the same path with Oetsu introducing his girls, and I'm pretty sure the Hohoden sounds exactly what it is, if you get my drift. Then he gets kicked in the back of the head for embarrassing our heroes. Like any strong Shinigami, there's always a woman to keep him in line. Getting some major Issei and Yuri vibes here. But other than that, we would pretty much follow the same path. Ichigo and Renji now gets a lesson in Zanpakuto, and the chapter would end with Oetsu saying, "It's nice to meet you," for the umpteenth time. Chapter 523, titled Words of Origin, would begin with the reveal of the Asauchi, nameless Zanpakuto, and it was these pages of this chapter that was also skipped in episode 9. There isn't much deviation except for 2 panels where Oetsu berates our 2 heroes about how they use Zanpakuto. This scene would switch over to Kenpachi finally leaving the cave, and this is where the anime would end. After the outro, we would actually continue to chapter 527. We skip out a few panels and just cut right to Oetsu peering down the hole, finding out that Renji has passed and Ichigo has failed. And Ichigo isn't too happy about this. When Ichigo gets out of the hole, he charges to Oetsu only to get teleported away. Once Oetsu says, "Knowing your roots means you can never return to this world," this would be the end of the chapter. Chapter 528 would start out with Ichigo finding himself at the front of the Kurosaki clinic. This chapter is titled Everything But the Rain. But this is where the anime would actually end. Another stellar episode. Unohana's Bankai was a smash hit. Her death, not so much. It was handled much better in the anime than the manga for sure. But before I get caught up in all of that, let's break down this episode and see what was adapted and what was tossed away. Bleach episode 10 covered about 5 manga chapters and 1 page from another, which is having an average of about 17 pages, all adding up to 87 pages in all. Each page having an average of around 65 panels, all adding up to 395 panels, with 36 of those panels being unique or not adapted, which means only 359 panels were adapted, which gives us a split of roughly about 90.89% to 9.11%. We also had a lot of extended scenes for the anime and some exclusive shots as well, and I'm loving it. I can't believe we're this far into Bleach already. I'm so hyped. I'm not sure if they'll just continue the core onto the new season that's coming up, or they'll just give it a pause and then, you know, continue it in another season. If you have some information on that, please let me know in the comments below as well. Next episode of Bleach, which is Bleach episode 11, would be the great reveal that we've all been waiting for, and I'm sure you won't be disappointed. So tune in for that. I'll also have an extended breakdown on that as well. Leave a like on your way out and consider subscribing. It really helps out the channel. I've been your host, Kyle. Thank you again for joining V Nation. Peace out and stay safe out there.